African leaders have been called dictators, incompetent and incapable of governing by the West. If we are being honest, in some cases they are correct, and other times they use those terms on African leaders who refuse to dance to their tune, such as Gaddafi and Thomas Sankara. But what if we told you that in recent times, the three African leaders that have been giving us joy in the continent have been termed a group of criminals and thugs? Shocking, right? But that's exactly what a US Congressman, specifically US House of Reps member Matt Gaetz, said in a speech. Not only did he call President Traore of Burkina Faso, Assimi Goita of Mali, and General Tiani of Niger criminals and thugs, he also said demeaning things about Niger and even threatened potential military action against them. So, what did he say exactly? Listen to this video.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to warn this body of the deteriorating conditions in the African country of Niger and to give rise to the concern of service members and contractors. More than 1,000 of them right now are functionally being held hostage in Niger. They are being used as pawns during a negotiation that has left America at the bended knee of third world criminals and thugs as our troops.
Did you hear that tone and that air of superiority in his voice? You see, this happened after General Tiani ended the status of force agreement that allowed the US military to settle in Niger and carry out missions. Before we delve into the details, let's first talk about Matt Gaetz. Who exactly is he? Matt Gaetz is a US Congressman representing Florida's 1st District. He is known for his strong support of former US President Donald Trump and is a prominent figure in the Republican Party. His career has, however, been marked by numerous controversies, including an ongoing federal investigation into allegations of sex trafficking and corruption. In addition, Matt Gaetz has also faced scrutiny for his inflammatory remarks and political stances, such as his opposition to the COVID-19 mitigation measures and his endorsement of Trump's election fraud allegations. Not surprisingly, he has also been criticized for his racial remarks and his connection to far-right groups. However, despite the controversy surrounding him, Gaetz has remained an influential figure in American politics since his election to the House of Reps since 2016. With this background, you can understand the kind of person Matt Gaetz is, and it wouldn't really shock you that someone like him would say something like that. Listen to the tone and language of his voice in the video. It was downright condescending. Using words like the third world implies that countries in Africa such as Niger, the people and leaders in those countries, are beneath the US. For Gaetz, the American soldiers stationed in Niger are more important than the citizens of Niger. Yet, US officials are the same people that preach human rights, equality, and justice. Every human, whether from the US or from a third world country, is important and should be treated equally. The ease with which Congressman Matt Gaetz threatened to militarily intervene in Niger and even involve the families of the leaders of Niger or the other countries in the Sahel reveals how little he rates the lives of citizens from third world countries. The interesting thing is that the reason why he made that threat was because of the situation caused by the US military officials. You see, after the US officials tried to dictate whom Niger should partner with in a very condescending tone, the authorities of Niger decided to end things with the US. Colonel Amadou Abdramane, a spokesperson for Niger's ruling junta, publicly denounced the US and terminated the counterterrorism partnership between the two countries. Abdramane cited violations of Niger's constitution, as well as the condescending attitude of the US officials, as the basis for revoking the agreement that allowed US troops and civilian Defense Department employees to operate within Niger since 2012. It was a shock to the US officials who never expected that they would have to pack out of Niger. So, typical of the United States, instead of leaving immediately as demanded by the authorities in Niger, they decided to remain and find possible ways that would allow them to remain in Niger. Niger is a sovereign country that has the right to do what it wants and protect its interests, something that the US and the West are very familiar with. The US refusal to leave made the authorities in Niger to impose certain restrictions in their operations in the US base that would push them to leave. They couldn't carry out missions or leave the base. As we said, Niger was very much in the right to do such after all. Niger had already ended things with them. It was the US military officials that were prolonging the issues by staying instead of packing up immediately. Now, instead of Gaetz to blast only the US military officials for leaving their troops, he decided to shift blame to the authorities in Niger for being responsible as to why the US troops in Niger were facing significant challenges, including the inability to access essential resources such as medicine, mail, and other forms of support from the Pentagon. How does that even make sense? Instead of asking why the US military was not packing out of the country, he went ahead to threaten military intervention on the authorities of Niger, their homes and families in a condescending manner. This behavior was disrespectful and appalling, and it points to the fact that the West does not regard Africa, the people, and the leaders. The only thing about Africa they care about is Africa's resources. It's this same attitude that started colonization in the first place. They felt that Africa had no culture, history, or civilization, and African traditions and beliefs are barbaric and uncivilized. Therefore, it was the duty to educate and teach Africans to be civilized, and let's not forget to add, plunder African resources while they are at it. If you thought that colonization ended decades ago, think again. African countries might no longer be using Western flags, but the situation has not changed. The West still feels superior to Africa, and the system they set up made sure that Africa is always beneath them. Think about the International Court of Justice, for example. Who do you think it was created for? If you think that it was a court to try every country regarding international crimes such as genocide, crimes against humanity, war crimes, and aggression. Think again. Recall that South Africa made headlines earlier this year when it took Israel to the International Court of Justice, accusing it of committing genocide in Pakistan. After several months of court cases, the International Court of Justice finally charged Israel of genocide, legitimizing South Africa's allegations. In addition to charging Israel of genocide, the International Court of Justice also issued a ruling ordering Israel to halt its ongoing assault and withdraw its troops from Rafah. The ICC also issued a warrant for the arrest of Benjamin Netanyahu, Prime Minister of Israel, and Yoav Gallant, Israeli Defense Minister, as both men were accused of war crimes. It also issued a warrant for the arrest of some Hamas leadership. But guess what? This order from the ICC triggered angry protests not just from Israel and Hamas, but also from the United States and even the UK. In a letter signed by US senators, the US warned, "Target Israel and we will target you. If you move forward with the measures indicated in the report, we will move to end all American support for the ICC, sanction your employees and associates, and bar you and your families from the United States." It also added, "You have been warned." This same US and the UK fully supported the ICC when it requested arrest warrants for Russian President Vladimir Putin and Russia's Commissioner for Children's Rights, Maria Lvova-Belova, following the invasion of Ukraine in 2022. But now that it comes to their allies, they have chosen to turn the other way and reject the ruling of the court. How hypocritical of them. But that is not even the shocking part. Speaking about the letter sent by the US, the ICC chief prosecutor Karim revealed something shocking. Speaking in an interview, Karim Khan described the letter as a threat and maintained that the ICC's values are synonymous with American beliefs. But here is the shocking part. He said, "And of course, I've had some elected leaders speak to me and be very blunt. This court is built for Africa and for thugs like Putin," was what one senior leader told me. Did you hear that? Although Khan didn't specify which elected leaders said that, it is not far-fetched to say that those elected leaders are Western leaders, and they said that the ICC was built for Africa and thugs like Putin. If any African country commits any crime deemed worthy to be called a crime against humanity, that country would be taken in charge by the court. But if it's the US or its allies, it's obvious that the ICC doesn't have any power. This hypocritical kind of justice is typical of the wheat, and again, we shouldn't be surprised because it has been repeated over and over again. The West has built a system that places them on top and allows them to enforce their policies and exert influence over everyone. If any country is on the opposite side, like Russia, China, or some African countries, those countries are termed dictatorial, and they are immediately sanctioned. What then is the solution for African countries? It's simple. Africa needs strong and patriotic leaders that will move against the tide created by the West. The continent needs leaders who will work together in unity. If all African countries could work together for a single purpose, which is to break free from the influence and structure set by the West, it would be the most powerful continent on Earth. Hopefully, the time comes soon. What are your thoughts? Let us know in the comments section below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video.